Hello, everyone. My name is Natasha Nillis, and this is my documentary on agriculture exceptionalism in the U.S. A legacy in transition. This is for my food law and policy course with my professor, Dr. Jake Tebolt. And today we're going to look at how U.S. laws has historically treated agriculture differently than other industries and whether that legal treatment still makes sense. So, what is agriculture exceptionalism? Agriculture exceptionalism refers to the long standing practice of treating agriculture as a special or protected industry under the law. This goes back to the Great Depression and post war era, when farmers were viewed as vital to national survival. The government offered protections to help them survive price collapses, droughts, and labor shortages. But as agriculture industrialized, the same legal favoritism stuck around even when farmers began to look more like factories. And now those exceptions are being questioned. Historical legal privileges. For decades, the agriculture sector has been carved out of the rules that apply to other businesses. For example, child labor laws. In most industries, it would be absolutely illegal for a 13-year-old to operate dangerous machineries. But in agriculture, it's allowed in some states. The same goes for overtime pay. Farm workers often don't receive it, and there are also fewer protections for union organizing in agriculture compared to other industries. On top of that, there's environmental oversight, and farmers often receive exemptions from Clean Water Act's regulations, especially if they're considered non-point sources or pollution. Even large industrial farmers or farms sometimes escape strict enforcement. And finally, we have right to farm laws. These were originally created to protect small family farms from suburban complaints about noise or smell. But now they're often used to protect massive operations from lawsuits, even when neighbors suffer from air and water contamination. Shifting the legal landscape. In the 1980s and 1990s, growing public concerns about food safety led to a shift in the legal force. People began getting sick from foodborne illnesses linked to contaminated produce or meat, like the famous 2006 spinach E. coli outbreak. I have this video for you that explains when FSMA has been signed. Here it is.
FSMA, or Food Safety Modernization Act, was signed into law in 2011, and in subsequent years, rules were released that would allow individual food companies in order to demonstrate compliance with the Food Safety Modernization Act. There's a variety of different rules, each touching on a specific area of food safety. We'd like to talk a little bit about points.
So, these outbreaks pressured Congress and the FDA to move from a reactive system to a preventative one. That pressure led to the Food Safety Modernization Act, or FSMA, in 2011. FSMA gave the FDA more power to enforce food safety before a product causes harm and not after. So, it also imposed new responsibilities on food producers, like hazard analysis, preventative control, and mandatory recalls are now part of the regulatory landscape. So, in a way, the era of agricultural exceptionalism started to bend under the weight of public expectation and risk. Right to farm laws under review. So, now let's go deeper in right to farm laws. They were supposed to be a shield for family farms, but today critics now says that become swords in the hands of the industrial producers. Now, some states are amending these laws to reflect a modern balance between agricultural productions and public health. Take North Carolina. Several lawsuits have been filed by communities living near large hog farms. People reported unbearable smells, contaminated water, and respiratory issues, but right to farm laws made it nearly impossible for them to win. In response, some states are reconsidering these laws or redefining them what counts as a farm operation. It's a sign that legal immunity isn't as absolute as it once was. Global pressure and codex. So, the US is part of the Codex Alimentarius, a global body that develops food safety standards. The Codex Alimentarius is a joint program by the FAO and WHO, which sets a science-based food safety guidelines recognized worldwide. The U.S. is a participant, and more of its laws are beginning to align with Codex standards, especially around labeling, allergens, and hygiene practices. This global engagement is another sign that agriculture exceptionalism is slowly being peeled back to match modern expectations. So, where does this leave us? Agriculture exceptionalism helped build the US food system, but it's not without cost. Workers are vulnerable, the environment pays a price, and consumers face health risks when safety takes a backseat. Legal exceptions that were once seen as necessary are now being scrutinized. Public health, food safety, and environmental justice movements are pushing back as well. So, the question is no longer whether agriculture deserves special treatment, it's whether that treatment still serves the people it's supposed to protect. What do you think? What questions came to your head? Let me know. So, this is my work cited. Again, my name is Natasha Nillis, and this is my documentary on agriculture exceptionalism in the US. Thank you for listening and looking for your feedback. Thank you.